The massive alien ship appeared without warning. One moment, the space above Earth was empty. The next, a vessel larger than any human spacecraft hung there, its silver hull gleaming in the sunlight. Military bases worldwide went into high alert, and fighter jets scrambled into the sky, even though everyone knew they would be useless against something of that size. Captain James Walker stood at attention in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, his dress uniform feeling too tight around his neck. As Earth's leading military diplomat, he had trained for this moment, but nothing could have truly prepared him for humanity's first contact with alien life. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Council representatives. They looked almost human, except for their blue-tinted skin and slightly larger eyes. Their leader, wearing flowing robes that seemed to shimmer with their own light, stepped forward. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community," the alien said in perfect English, their translation devices making communication seamless. "I am Representative Val, and we have been watching your progress for some time." Walker noticed the slight note of condescension in Val's voice, the kind of tone someone might use when speaking to a child. He kept his face neutral, remembering his diplomatic training. "Earth thanks you for this historic visit," Walker replied, his voice steady. "We look forward to learning from your advanced civilization." Val smiled, but it didn't reach their eyes. "Yes, you have much to learn. Your technology is quaint. We noticed your military forces scrambling their aircraft when we arrived. Such primitive machines." The other council members behind Val exchanged knowing looks. One of them held up what appeared to be a weapon, sleek, glowing with blue energy, and nothing like the firearms Earth's military forces carried. "This," Val said, gesturing to the weapon, "is what real military power looks like. Energy weapons capable of piercing any material, shields that can deflect any attack. Your projectile weapons, your guns," they actually chuckled at the word, "they belong in a museum." Walker felt his jaw tighten, but he maintained his diplomatic smile. Behind him, he could hear General Roberts shifting uncomfortably in his chair. They had both seen the footage of their best fighter jets trying to intercept the alien ship, how their missiles had simply disappeared against some kind of energy field. "Perhaps a demonstration," Val suggested, not waiting for a response. They gestured, and a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed an alien ship firing energy beams that cut through asteroids like butter. Another image showed energy shields deflecting what looked like missiles. "We offer Earth protection," Val continued. "Join the Galactic Council as a protectorate species. We will guide your development, ensure your safety. After all, there are dangerous forces in the galaxy, and your current defenses are—" They paused, searching for a diplomatic word. "Inadequate." Walker felt a mix of humiliation and anger, but also something else, curiosity. The aliens were powerful, yes, but also arrogant. They had dismissed Earth's military capability without a second thought, based solely on its apparent technological level. "We appreciate your offer," Walker said carefully. "Earth's governments will need time to discuss this proposition." Of course," Val said, waving a hand dismissively. "Take all the time you need. We will remain in orbit, ready to protect you should any threat arise." The condescension in their voice was unmistakable now. As the meeting concluded, and the aliens prepared to return to their ship, Walker caught a glimpse of something interesting. When one of the council members walked past a metal detector, it buzzed softly. The alien looked startled, as if they hadn't expected Earth's primitive technology to detect anything through their advanced clothing. Walker filed this observation away carefully. Their energy weapons and shields might be impressive, but they still interfered with simple magnetic fields. Perhaps Earth's primitive technology wasn't as useless as the Council thought. As he watched the aliens depart, Walker was already planning his report to Earth's military command. The Galactic Council might be laughing at human guns now, but he had a feeling they would learn an important lesson about underestimating primitive weapons and the humans who wielded them. The first shot hadn't been fired yet, but the battle of technologies had already begun. 3 days after first contact, the Galactic Council's military advisors arrived to inspect Earth's defenses. They walked through the halls of the United Nations military complex with the air of teachers grading a child's homework. Mark Anderson watched them from his workshop, grease stains on his hands and dark circles under his eyes. As the lead weapons engineer for the North American Defense Coalition, he should have been part of the official tour. Instead, he had asked to be excused, claiming he was behind on his work. The truth was, he didn't think he could stand watching aliens laugh at his life's work. "Your projectile weapons are quite interesting," one of the alien inspectors said, picking up a standard-issue military rifle with 2 fingers, as if it might bite. "We haven't seen gunpowder weapons in active military use for over 10,000 years. The alien, who had introduced himself as Technical Advisor Kren, placed the rifle back on its stand with barely concealed disgust. His companion, Scientific Officer Mel, was scanning everything with a device that looked like a glowing tablet. "Such wasteful use of metal," Mel commented, shaking her head. "And the recoil. How do your soldiers maintain accuracy with such primitive tools?" Anderson gripped his workbench tighter, his knuckles turning white. Through the workshop's window, he could see Captain Walker leading the inspection tour, maintaining his diplomatic smile despite the constant stream of insults wrapped in polite language. "Perhaps a demonstration," Walker suggested, gesturing to the shooting range. "One of our marksmen could show you the effectiveness of our weapons." The aliens exchanged amused looks. "If you insist," Kren said. He pulled out one of their energy weapons, sleek and glowing with blue light. "But first, allow us to show you real military technology." The demonstration that followed was admittedly impressive. The energy weapon vaporized targets with pinpoint accuracy, leaving not even ash behind. The aliens' personal shields deflected bullets as if they were nothing more than annoying flies. But Anderson noticed something interesting. Each time the aliens fired their energy weapons, his computer screens flickered slightly. And when they activated their shields, his radio produced a faint but distinct hum. While everyone else watched the aliens' demonstration, Anderson slipped away to his private testing area. He pulled up the electromagnetic readings his instruments had been quietly collecting. The patterns were fascinating. Each alien technology produced clear energy signatures. They weren't invisible or mysterious. They were just using a different part of the physics spectrum. "Engineer Anderson," a voice called from behind him. He turned to find Admiral Thomas Reed standing in the doorway, his weathered face unreadable. "Admiral, sir." Anderson straightened up quickly. "I was just at ease, son," Reed said, walking over to look at the readings on Anderson's screen. "Tell me what you found." Anderson explained his observations, growing more excited as he talked. "They're shields, sir. They're not magic. They're just extremely focused electromagnetic fields. And their weapons? They're basically supercharged plasma containers. Impressive, yes, but still bound by basic physics." Reed nodded slowly, a slight smile forming on his face. "And what does basic physics tell us about kinetic energy versus energy shields?" "That's just it, sir," Anderson said, pulling up a basic diagram. "Their shields are optimized to deflect energy attacks. Heat, plasma, radiation. But kinetic energy, that's a whole different problem. It's like trying to stop a bullet with a flashlight." "Keep working on this," Reed ordered, his voice low. "But keep it quiet. Let them think we're just simple primitives playing catch-up with their technology." He turned to leave, then paused. "And Anderson, start thinking about how to modify our existing weapons. I have a feeling we're going to need them sooner rather than later." As the Admiral left, Anderson looked back at his readings with new purpose. The aliens might be laughing at human guns now, but he had a feeling that laughter wouldn't last forever. After all, sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. And it didn't get much simpler than a really fast piece of metal. Anderson hadn't left his lab in 3 days, Empty coffee cups littered his desk, and his computer screens glowed with endless lines of data. But he didn't care about the mess or his lack of sleep. He was too excited about what he had discovered. "Run the simulation again," he told his computer. On the main screen, a virtual bullet hit a recreated alien shield. Unlike previous tests, this time the bullet passed straight through. He grabbed his phone and called Admiral Reed. "Sir, you need to see this now." 30 minutes later, Reed stood in Anderson's lab, watching the simulation with intense focus. Captain Walker stood beside him, both men silent as Anderson explained his breakthrough. "Their shields work by creating a complex electromagnetic field," Anderson said, pointing to his diagrams. "It's brilliant for stopping energy weapons, but there's a flaw. If we fire projectiles at exactly the right speed, they pass through like the shield isn't even there." "Like throwing a rock through a fan blade?" Walker asked, leaning closer to the screen. Anderson nodded eagerly. "Exactly. Time it right, and the rock passes through without touching the blades. Their shields pulse at a specific frequency. Hit that sweet spot, and our bullets go right through." Reed stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Can we modify our existing weapons to achieve this?" "Already working on it," Anderson said, moving to a workbench where a modified rifle lay in pieces. "We need to adjust the muzzle velocity to match the shield frequency. I'm calling it the shield breaker round." He picked up a strange-looking bullet. "Regular gunpowder won't cut it. We need something faster. So I've been working with the railgun team. We've miniaturized the technology. Each bullet has a tiny electromagnetic accelerator." "How soon can we test it?" Reed asked. Anderson smiled. "That's the best part. The aliens gave us everything we need. Every time they demonstrate their shields, our instruments record their exact frequencies. We've been gathering data without them even knowing it." Walker frowned. "Won't they detect these new weapons?" "That's another beautiful part," Anderson said, holding up the bullet. "It's completely passive until fired. No energy signature, no radiation, nothing. To their sensors, it looks like an ordinary piece of metal. Their arrogance is their weakness. They don't even bother scanning our primitive ammunition." Reed nodded slowly, a rare smile forming on his face. "How many weapons can we modify?" "Give me 2 weeks and a proper team," Anderson replied, "and I can have a production line running. Every military base could have shield breaker rounds within a month." "Do it," Reed ordered, "but keep it quiet. Captain Walker will make sure our alien friends stay distracted with their assessment of our conventional forces." Just then, Anderson's computer beeped. A new simulation had finished running. This one showed something even more interesting. At certain velocities, their bullets didn't just penetrate alien shields, they caused them to collapse completely. "Sir," Anderson said, his voice tight with excitement, "I think we just found a way to not only defeat their shields but turn them into a weakness." Reed watched the simulation replay, his expression hardening. "Keep working. Humanity's survival might depend on this." As the Admiral and Captain left, Anderson turned back to his workbench. On a screen above it, news headlines scrolled past. "Alien Council continues military assessment. Earth's defenses deemed primitive. Humanity urged to adopt advanced alien technology." Anderson smiled as he picked up his tools. Let them think humans were primitive. Let them laugh at Earth's weapons. Soon enough, they would learn that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. In the corner of his lab, a prototype shield breaker bullet gleamed under the fluorescent lights. It looked simple, almost crude compared to the aliens' elegant energy weapons. But appearances, as the Galactic Council was about to learn, could be very deceiving. The emergency alarms woke Anderson at 3 in the morning. Red lights flashed through the military complex as he rushed to the command center, still pulling on his uniform jacket. Inside, Admiral Reed and Captain Walker stood before a large screen showing dozens of alien ships entering the solar system. "The Dominion," Walker explained as Anderson joined them. "A rival alien faction. They just pushed through the Council's defensive line in the Orc cloud. On the screen, alien ships exchanged brilliant energy beams. The Council's vessels, despite their advanced technology, seemed to be losing. Their weapons splashed harmlessly against the Dominion's purple shields. "The Council's weapons aren't working," Anderson observed, watching another Council ship explode in a flash of light. "That's why they called this emergency meeting," Reed said grimly. "They're asking for Earth's help." The door burst open, and Representative Val hurried in, their usual composure shattered. "The Dominion ships, their shields, our weapons have no effect." They wrung their hands nervously. "We need every available ship and weapon." Walker raised an eyebrow. "Even our primitive ones?" Val flinched at the reminder of their previous mockery. "Yes, even those. The Dominion must be stopped. They don't take protectorates. They take slaves." Anderson caught Reed's eye. The Admiral gave a slight nod. "We can help," Anderson said carefully. "But we'll need full control of our ships and weapons. No Council oversight." "Impossible," Val protested. "Your technology is." A new explosion lit up the screen. Another Council ship gone. "Those are our terms," Reed said firmly. "Earth fights its own way, or not at all." Val looked at the screen, then back at the humans. Their expression shifted from disgust to resignation. "Fine. You have full tactical authority, but don't expect." More alarms cut them off. The Dominion fleet had reached Mars. "All ships, launch now," Reed commanded. Earth's space fleet, hidden in underground bases across the planet, lifted off for the first time. The ships looked plain compared to alien vessels. No glowing engines, no shimmering shields, just solid metal, good armor, and lots of guns. In his specially designed command chair, Anderson activated his tactical display. Over the past month, every human ship had been secretly equipped with shield breaker rounds. Now it was time to see if they worked in real combat. "This is Commander Stone of the EDS Defender," a voice crackled over the radio. "All ships, form up on me. Remember your training. Don't fire until you see the whites of their shields." A nervous laugh rippled through the command center at the old military quote. Even Val looked confused, not getting the reference. The Dominion ships approached Mars, their purple shields glowing brightly. They completely ignored the human fleet, focusing their attacks on the remaining Council vessels. "Hold position," Stone ordered. "Wait for it." Anderson watched the tactical display, his heart pounding. The shield frequencies matched his calculations perfectly. This had to work. Fire. The human fleet opened fire as one. Rails guns launched their specially designed rounds at precisely calculated speeds. Regular guns fired shield breaker bullets. To everyone's amazement, except Anderson's, the shots passed straight through the Dominion's shields. The first volley hit 3 Dominion ships. Their shields didn't just fail. They collapsed completely, leaving the ships exposed to normal weapons fire. The second volley tore through their unprotected hulls. "It works," Anderson shouted, pumping his fist. "The shield breakers work." Val stared at the screen in shock as more Dominion ships fell to Earth's primitive weapons. "Impossible. How did you?" "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," Walker said with a smile. "You might want to tell your fleet to fall back. Let us handle this." As the human fleet moved forward, methodically destroying ship after ship, Anderson couldn't help but notice that nobody was laughing at Earth's guns anymore. The Dominion fleet regrouped near Phobos, Mars's largest moon. Their remaining ships formed a defensive circle, purple shields glowing brighter than before. Behind them, the Council colony on Mars sent desperate distress signals. "They're adapting," Anderson said, studying his readings. "They've increased their shield power by 300%. Commander Stone's voice crackled over the command center speakers. "Doesn't matter how strong the shield is if we can pass right through it. All ships, prepare for attack pattern Delta." The human fleet split into 3 groups. From his tactical station, Anderson watched with pride as the ships moved with practiced precision. For months, they had trained in secret for this moment. "Look at that formation," Val said, shaking their head. "So crude, so simple. They're not even using evasive patterns." Walker smiled. "Sometimes the simple approach is the best one." The Dominion ships fired first, their energy weapons lighting up space like artificial lightning. But the human fleet had trained for this too. Their ships, built with thick armor and no shields, could take hits that would have crippled the Council's more delicate vessels. "First wave, fire," Stone ordered. The front line of Earth ships fired their railguns. Specially designed rounds streaked through space at incredible speeds. The Dominion's enhanced shields flickered as the rounds passed through them like they weren't even there, smashing into the ships beneath. "Second wave, target their engines," Stone commanded. Another volley of shield breaker rounds struck home. 2 Dominion ships lost power and began drifting. A third exploded spectacularly as its reactor containment failed. "Impossible," Val whispered, watching the battle unfold. "Their shields are the strongest in known space. How are you doing this?" Anderson couldn't help feeling a little smug. Physics doesn't care about how advanced you are. A bullet is still a bullet. The remaining Dominion ships tried to retreat, but Earth's fleet had positioned itself perfectly. Regular ammunition poured into the ships whose shields had been collapsed by the shield breakers. One by one, the mighty Dominion vessels fell to humanity's primitive weapons. "The colony is saved," Walker announced, reading the incoming reports. "Dominion forces are in full retreat from the solar system." The command center erupted in cheers. Even Admiral Reed allowed himself a small smile. But Anderson was already studying the battle data, looking for ways to improve the shield breaker technology. "I don't understand," Val said, approaching Anderson's station. "Our scientists said kinetic weapons were obsolete, that shields made them useless." Anderson pulled up a simple diagram on his screen. "Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons by dispersing or absorbing their power, but they pulse at specific frequencies to maintain stability. We just had to time our shots to slip through the gaps." "But that's—" Val paused, their expression changing from confusion to understanding. "That's brilliant. So simple, yet so effective." "Sometimes the best solutions are the simple ones," Anderson replied. "You were so focused on advancing energy weapon technology that you forgot about basic physics." Reed called everyone's attention back to the main screen. The Council fleet had finally arrived from the outer system, too late to help with the battle. "This changes everything," Val said, looking at the human officers with new respect. "The Council will want to know how you developed this technology." "I'm sure they will," Reed said diplomatically. "But first, perhaps we should discuss changing Earth's status from protectorate to full member of the Galactic Council." Val nodded quickly. Yes, of course. After this demonstration, I don't think anyone will question Earth's readiness." As the aliens and human leaders began discussing new terms, Anderson turned back to his data. The battle was won, but he knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was already analyzing what had happened, trying to figure out how to counter Earth's weapons. But that was fine. After all, he had a few more ideas about how to improve humanity's primitive guns. 1 month after the Battle of Mars, Anderson found himself in a very different position. Instead of working alone in his lab, he now stood before a group of alien weapons designers, explaining the principles behind shield breaker technology. "The key is synchronizing the projectile velocity with shield frequencies," he explained, pointing to a diagram. The aliens, who had once mocked Earth's weapons, now took careful notes. Representative Val stood at the back of the room, watching with obvious approval. Next to them, Captain Walker tried not to look too pleased with how things had changed. "But what about the recoil?" asked one alien engineer, still struggling with the concept of kinetic weapons. "How do your ships handle the kickback?" Anderson smiled. "That's actually an advantage. The recoil helps our targeting systems. When you feel the kick, you know you fired. With energy weapons, there's no physical feedback. The door opened, and Admiral Reed entered with several high-ranking council officials. Their faces looked grim. "The Dominion has attacked 3 more colonies," Reed announced. "Their shields are different now. They're trying to counter our technology." Anderson had expected this. "Show me their new shield patterns." The tactical display lit up with data from the recent attacks. The Dominion had modified their shields to pulse at random frequencies, making it harder to time the shield breaker rounds. But Anderson just grinned. They still don't get it. They're still thinking like energy weapon users. He pulled up his latest design files. "That's why I've been working on these scattershot rounds. Instead of timing one perfect shot, we fire hundreds of smaller rounds at different speeds. Some will always get through, no matter how the shields pulse." The alien engineers crowded around his screen, their earlier disdain forgotten in their excitement to learn. "We need to begin mass production immediately," Vol said. "The Dominion is pushing deeper into council space. They're betting everything on their new shields." "Already ahead of you," Anderson replied. He pressed a button, and a wall panel slid aside to reveal racks of new ammunition. "I've been working with engineers from every council race. We've adapted the technology for all standard ship types. And not just ships," Walker added. "Show them the portable versions." Anderson picked up what looked like a normal rifle. Same principle, smaller package. Now ground forces can take down personal shields too. The council officials whispered among themselves, clearly impressed. One of them stepped forward, an alien Anderson recognized as High Commissioner Ral. "Earth's weapons technology has proven itself beyond any doubt," Ral announced formally. "The Council proposes establishing the Joint Military Development Program, with Engineer Anderson as its head." Anderson blinked in surprise. "Me? You saw what everyone else missed," Vol said. "You took technology we thought was obsolete and turned it into our greatest advantage. We need that kind of thinking." "And not just for weapons," Reed added. "The Council has realized that maybe they were too quick to dismiss other primitive human technologies." As if to prove his point, alarms began blaring. Another Dominion attack was underway. But this time, the response was different. Council ships equipped with human weapons moved to intercept, their crews confident in their new capabilities. "They're about to learn another lesson about primitive technology," Walker said, watching the tactical display. Anderson nodded, but he was already thinking about new improvements. The Dominion would keep adapting, so humanity would need to stay one step ahead. But that was fine. Innovation under pressure was what humans did best. As he watched Council ships successfully engage the Dominion fleet, Anderson couldn't help but smile. Just 2 months ago, the aliens had laughed at human weapons. Now they were betting their survival on them. Sometimes the best technology wasn't the most advanced. It was the most reliable. 6 months after the Battle of Mars, the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. Gone were the purely decorative energy displays and floating holograms. Instead, the walls display both energy and kinetic weapon designs, showing how the two technologies work together. Anderson stood at the main podium, no longer feeling out of place among the alien leaders. Behind him, Captain Walker and Admiral Reed sat with the highest-ranking council officials. The occasion? The formal surrender of the Dominion fleet. "The combined arms doctrine has proven successful beyond our expectations," Anderson reported, showing battle footage from the final confrontation. "Kinetic weapons break their shields. Energy weapons finish the job. Simple, effective, and nearly impossible to defend against." The Dominion representative, their purple uniform now bearing surrender markings, watched with a mix of bitterness and respect. Their mighty empire had crumbled in half a year, defeated by weapons they had once considered primitive. "The war is over," High Commissioner Ral announced. "Thanks to Earth's contributions, the Dominion threat has been neutralized. But more importantly, this conflict has taught us a valuable lesson about innovation and pride." Val, now Earth's permanent ambassador to the Council, stood up. We forgot that progress isn't always about making things more complex. Sometimes the old ways persist because they work. Earth reminded us of this. Walker couldn't help but smile as he remembered Val's first dismissive comments about human weapons. The alien caught his eye and gave a slightly embarrassed nod. Moving forward, Reed addressed the assembly. Earth proposes a new military doctrine for the Council. We combine the best of all our technologies. Energy weapons, kinetic weapons, shields, and armor. Each has its place. The chamber erupted in approving sounds from a dozen alien species. Even the Dominion representative nodded reluctantly. After the formal proceedings, Anderson found himself in one of the Council's gardens, looking up at the unfamiliar stars. Walker joined him, carrying 2 drinks. "Not bad for a primitive species," Walker said, handing Anderson a glass. "6 months ago, they were laughing at our guns. Now they're mass-producing them." Anderson took a sip. "The really fun part. Wait until they see what else we've been working on. Remember those old missile designs I found in the archives? The ones with multiple warheads?" "Exactly. If they thought shield breakers were impressive, wait until they see what happens when we combine their energy tech with our targeting systems." Their conversation was interrupted by a young alien engineer rushing up to them, clutching the datapad. "Engineer Anderson, I've been studying ancient records from my world. We used to have these weapons called catapults. Do you think we could scale them up for space warfare?" Anderson grinned. "Now you're thinking like a human. Let's see what you've got." As they looked over the designs, more Council engineers gathered around, each bringing their own primitive weapons to reconsider. The merger of old and new technologies was creating possibilities no one had imagined before. Reed watched from a balcony above, standing with High Commissioner Ral. "Your people have changed everything," Ral admitted. "Not just our military technology, but how we think about progress itself." Reed nodded. "That's what humans do best. We take the old and the new, the simple and the complex, and find ways to make them work together." "And to think," Ral mused, "we almost dismissed you as primitives. A wise leader once said that pride comes before the fall." Reed replied diplomatically. Below them, Anderson was now surrounded by a dozen alien engineers, all excitedly discussing how to combine ancient weapons with modern technology. Their earlier arrogance had been replaced by genuine curiosity and respect. Earth had earned its place among the stars, not by abandoning its primitive technology, but by proving that sometimes the oldest solutions were still the best. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, other civilizations were about to learn an important lesson. Never laugh at human ingenuity or their guns.